Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the very first Sunday night AA meeting. My name is Adam. I'll be your host this evening, and I am addicted to aquariums. But I guess the question is, how do you know that you're in the right place? Well, you might have a garage full of bubbling aquariums and you know the meaning of a manifold. You might have a living room with a crazy blue eerie light emanating through the windows and salt creep back down the wall. And a bit like myself, you might have an extraordinary large power bill and you live in blissful ignorance. That's right, you're addicted to aquariums, just like our newest member of the group, all the way from Brisbane, Australia. Let's welcome him into the group. G'day, mate. How are you this evening? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Neil, and I'm addicted to aquariums.
G'day, Neil. Welcome to the group, mate. You came across to me as a viewer of my YouTube channel, and since then we've become quite good friends, and we've had quite a bit of time to delve deep into the lives of discus, ultim angels, into characins and hypancistris, L-number plecos, corridors, and all sorts of things like that, which we're going to dive into this evening. But before we do that, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown as to how you got addicted to aquariums in the first instance? How did it all start, mate?
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you for welcoming me. Pretty much started about 2008, 2009. I was jealous of my brother who had an aquarium and he didn't want it. And then pretty much eventually got my own, stock standard 25-liter aquarium, which, reproduced by itself and turned into 8 or 9 aquariums on my top where I was supposed to do homework, dabbled around with marine eventually moved out of my room into my father's garage, moved from the garage into his tool shed until his tools started rusting, moved back into the house, into his office, eventually went to uni where I had, 6-foot aquariums next to my bed, all sorts of caradina, shrimp, neos, discus, wild caught, discus, yep.
Just to confirm, Neil, that's over in South Africa, yeah, in Pretoria?
Correct. That's over in Pretoria at uni, where basically my textbooks were moved into my clothes drawer, so that I could have space for aquariums, wooden floors as well. Obviously renting over there in Brooklyn is the area that it's called, and close to the University of Pretoria, where basically the floors were lifting, always made mistakes, left the hose open, things like that. And eventually, before coming to Australia, I had about 75 aquariums, about 17,000 litres from memory, with loads of different discus, angelfish, ramaziris, corridora danae, pretty much you name it. Then eventually moved over to Australia, and then basically rekindled my hobby immediately. I know I said to my friends over there, maybe I'll be without fish a couple of years and just go and snorkel and do things like that. But probably within the first 2-3 months, as soon as I found a rental, I got one tank that I picked up in Ipswich and immediately procured, some CW10s, eventually Ultims, and just jumped on it. The initial idea would have been discus, but jumped on the Ultims as soon as I saw them. And and then again, the tank managed to reproduce, and I think there's 14 in here now, counting.
I think, mate, one thing first, just don't forget to hold that camera a little bit still for us.
Sorry.
All good. Yeah. Now, one thing I will point out is that you've got a lot going on down there in that garage fish room of yours in the rental property. So if you want to just give us a quick look, turn the camera around, give us a quick look at the various projects you've got going on, and then maybe we'll jump into what life's like being a tenant aquarist before we deep dive one by one through your ultims and your pencil fish projects and your L numbers. So maybe give us a quick tour of those tanks first, and we'll get stuck into the rental history.
Yeah, absolutely. I will just move my camera around. First of all, just a quick tour around, as everyone can see. Just try and move around a bit. Yeah, I guess typical fish room. Like I said, MTS, multiple tank syndrome, all over the show. And trying to store stuff as well, to potentially move to a larger space eventually. Got a fair bit going on.
Well, do you want to start, since you're down this end there? Why don't you just give us a quick rundown of what's down that far corner? You've got those three little tanks. Then we'll move on through tank by tank, just giving everybody a brief look. Just a brief look. We won't dive too deep into each tank just yet.
Yeah,
but we'll just wet their whistle, shall we?
Absolutely. Just in there, just your regular Oplosoma stirbai. Stirbai as well, thread fins. We've got Nanostomus rubrocaudatus. We've got different catch locations of Pseudomugil gertrudae. Moving on, we've got some Geophagus pindare, L236 super whites in their RB line, L134s Picoltia compta or leopard frogs. Just your regular crimsons from Neurum locations, some black rams. Moving over, we've got a seahorse aquarium that we spoke about.
I was about to pull you up, mate. I said, what's that eerie blue glow coming from there with an empty tank?
So for now, long story short, I've got Epicam Pascuda, but what I've did was I gifted it to a mate until I can procure a chiller so that they're happy. I've dabbled around with some other ideas, but we'll see. I think I'll probably stick to the seahorses, but soon, I'll have my Epicam Pascuda back.
That's, of course, how you and I met in the first place with those seahorse.
Absolutely.
All right, we've got some Bose Maneyes to the side.
Bose Maneyes, and you've got your common whips. I'm not sure about the pronunciation, but it's Rhinoloricaria. And then there's SPL 181s. We'll get to that. Then I've got basically flagtail cories in there with some festivum or flag cichlids that I'm busy growing up to go with the rest of the ultims. In there, basically lulupis with Cynodontis petricola in there that I'm trying out. I've never really tried Africans before. Pretty ironic because, seeing that I'm from Africa. And in here, just an overview, got some, crystal shrimp, not crystal shrimp, cherry shrimp, Neocaridina, a bunch of cardinals, beautiful cardinals, really, really happy with them. And then basically some just regular L144s, but the super reds in there. This is actually the L46 Hippancistris zebra aquarium. We'll get to that with the trials and tribulations on that. In here, there's a bloody black Moscow that I love. Just something about having a really pure strain. Never have duds or anything else. There's CW10s in there. Show your gold lasers. And there's also a bunch of crimsons in there, the rainbows, that bred that I didn't even know about. Um, Over here, there's a nice group of young Uchiensis rainbows.
Yep.
Yeah, from the Uchi River. And in there's some L297s that are a bit of a pest because like they chomp on the wood, on the driftwood, and just make a mess all the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, for some reason I still enjoy them. I enjoy the fact that they do that for some reason. I guess I enjoy struggling.
Yeah.
Um, and then over here at the back, I've
You're
got.
leaving my favourite to last, Neil, aren't you?
Sorry.
You're leaving my favourite to last.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I'll sit here. I won't move around too much. So I've got a pair of Rio Atabapo Altum angel fish in here that we'll get to in detail. Um,
Yep.
yeah, I'll show you
Unbelievable.
everything. Now.
All right,
Just
mate.
the female, just a little bit upset with me. Um, yeah, I'll move the camera back around and just move my chair location. Yeah.
Yeah. And just for context, Neil, you're in what looks to be, is it a single car garage there?
Yes, that's correct.
You've certainly got a lot going on there. And not only that, we both discussed how at the moment we're both experiencing a lot of torrential rain and I'm getting thunderstorms. Now, you in that single car garage are a tenant, and that's going to restrict you from doing certain things, mate. So can you maybe run through, for those that don't necessarily own their own home, a couple of little quirks that you've installed to make your life a bit easier being a tenant?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, Adam, the the problem is here. Obviously, I'd love to do it properly, do it the right way. I used to own a townhouse in South Africa where I could drill into the walls, uh, install brackets, do everything properly, and have rigid piping. But yeah, as you said over here, everything needs to be flexible pipes or your regular irrigation pipes. So what I've done is just in a nutshell, to make it easier, because I work a lot of FIFO work. So basically, it's just a Timu. I know it's not pretty, but it's never been about aesthetics for me. I enjoy just keeping the fish. And then when winter periods come, then I try and focus on breeding where I can. But basically, it's a Temu overflow, which I've extended to be able to do manual water changes as well. Connected to a regular irrigation pipe, but the difference here is the fact that I've basically used tap timers, just regular Bunnings hardware store tap timers, but those timers have a bit of a problem. So what I really needed was a self-acting solenoid valve, but that would set you back at about $200, $220 for a 19 mil valve. And also, I couldn't just use one valve at this stage because, as you can see, I don't have racks where the water level is the same in every tank. I'd love to have that like I had it in Pretoria. So obviously I can't put it on one stack if the one tank is higher. For example, that little tank in the corner that we looked at is much lower. The higher tank will just overflow into the small tank and just flood over the floor. So I've got multiple stacks, but with that garden timer, it needs a minimum of 20 kPa pressure to function. So at first I believed, look, I don't have enough pressure head from the water level, from the height of water that I have. But then initially I had 90-degree bends just with irrigation pipe. And then what I did was I removed the 90s and included this curvature from this Timu overflow. And that enabled me to actually just increase the flow. With the head height that I have and with the increased flow that I have, the valves actually do open a fair bit, not much, but a bit, and then drains the water outside.
Neil, do you want to just give everybody a quick squiz at the valves you're talking about? So just for context,
absolutely.
you're talking about a garden tap timer valve,
Yep.
which is generally going to be a battery operated valve, just like that.
Yep. Correct.
But the water supply line, rather than being mains pressure, you've got it tank pressure, so to speak.
Correct.
And so that would mean, I'm assuming, that your tanks are on a siphon. They're ready to siphon as soon as that valve opens.
Yes, that's correct. So what I also do is, so with this Temu fitting, I don't really have siphons breaking. Here and there does happen every now and then. But what I did was, so how I actually got this process going, what forced me to start doing it was I went abroad on holiday for quite an extended period in December.
Yep.
And what I needed to do was I needed to have that peace of mind because I don't have anyone to come and look at my fish. Potentially there would be a person or two who could help, but it would just be a nuisance for them. You know, I didn't want to set anyone back and put them in a bit of a predicament. So I started figuring this out by basically I marked my water level where the level needs to be when the tank is full. And then what I did was when it starts draining from that siphon that I already have, when the timer goes on, it starts draining. I started dabbling around with the duration that it drains. So I started about half an hour, 45 minutes, went up to an hour. Those timers can go up to 12 hours, I believe, from memory. So, but an hour turned out to be enough. So basically had the area of each tank and then made a mark where they would drain to after that hour and consistently tested that. And the tanks would pretty much hit that mark every time. And then did a bit of, you know, just a bit of basic math looking at, you know, if I do it X times per day, how much water would I be changing? So what it boils down to, 4 times per day, my tanks drain for an hour long. I change between 40 and 60% per tank, depending on what tank it is and how high the water level is above the outlet. But yeah, without doing any work, my fish get fresh water. And what I do is from the tap, I've got a timer as well, but after every tank drained for an hour, I leave it it's offset by half an hour. So then the tap timer will go on, then the tanks will fill up after that. And each tank has, again, a Temu float valve that I've adjusted a bit to control, you know, so that the tanks don't overflow when they're filling. Why I offset it for about half an hour or so is just so when I'm back from work in the evening, I can have a view at where the levels should be, and I can quickly see whether a siphon has broken. And then also these pipes are pretty clear, so I'll see when there's no water in the pipe, and I'll simply pull out this irrigation pipe. There's a male a nipple in there. I'll pull it out, suck on the Temu fitting, just in a little bucket. Close this up, have the siphon back going, press it in, open it up again, and that valve allows me to isolate at different stages. And then I guess also what I've done is I've bypassed those valves. So when I'm home, when I'm not on holiday, if fish are getting medicated or I've got any issues or I want to drain more water, I can manually drain all my tanks and bypass that valve.
Right. Okay. Neil, I've got a couple of questions for you, mate.
Yep.
Well, comments and questions, I should say. Let me see your face, mate.
Yep.
So we've got that's all right, mate. Now I'm going to butcher this, but I've got a greeting here from the Ginger Ninja of South Africa, Quade. We've got Goey Nand Neil.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
We are on. Good evening.
Good evening. Righto.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we've got another question here from Quade, who is renting himself. And his question is, with renting, especially in Australia, you have an inspection like every 3 months. How do you get around that inspection? How is the rental agent happy and the owner? Do they worry about water damage?
Yeah, so currently my inspections, I'm a little bit lucky in that regard, where here and there they will come into the garage. They'll have a look at the aquariums. However, we have the water damages in here with the system. With the system running, I don't really have much water issues per se. Um, but I understand that, obviously everyone can leave a hose. I've left hoses open and flood the floor. But yeah, with the rental inspections, they tend to come into the garage quickly. But with my agency, they focus more on the home itself so far. I've been here, this is year number 3. And so far it's been all good. So that's all I can comment on that. I
Was it a
might
case?
be a bit lucky, but yeah, I'm not doing anything permanent. Water damage, there's some other reasons for
Yeah.
potential water damage that I can touch base on. But yeah, I make sure not to touch anything structural or permanent or to screw into the wall, drill into the wall where I have to maybe patch and paint or things like that.
All right. Neil, was it a case when you first were looking, if you can recall from those 3 years ago? I can't recall what happened yesterday, right? Alone 3 years ago. Might be a bit too much of this, mate. But did you have to disclose what you wanted to do in terms of your fish tanks when you first took the lease?
Yeah, I absolutely did disclose with fish tanks, with other pets, even cameras around the house. Anything that you want to do, I do disclose. But yeah, I've never had any feedback or issues or,
Yeah.
literally zero feedback. So I have disclosed it. That's correct. I believe you should always be transparent and just be clear on your intentions. I know of other people who rent, who drill holes through the walls and things like that, and they patch it up afterwards, and they fine. But yeah, in my opinion, I wouldn't recommend that. That's why, look, it's ugly, but it works, and it's just temporary.
Yeah, because I'm assuming the ideal when you have your own property is to have drilled tanks, maybe a drain down low and a fill up high, and have everything
Yes.
Bluetooth solenoid valves to your to the drain, all that sort of stuff, mate. What we
Yeah,
might do,
absolutely.
we're going to jump into your plans for the winter breeding, and we might start with your ultims.
Yeah.
But before we do that, what I would like to do is maybe introduce a little bit of a shout out segment, just where there's someone or somebody, another fellow hobbyist. It could be a business, it could be a pet store owner, but it's not necessarily meant to be about that. It's just about someone that's given you some guidance or some good vibes in our aquarium addiction. So, Neil, have you got anyone in particular that you would like to give a shout out to, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple of people, which would be my good mates from South Africa, Marco and Trevor. I don't know if they'll be watching, but definitely shout out to them. And yeah, and definitely people like Atlas Aquarium, even Aaron at Pet City. Those are fantastic people who entertain all my talking and passion.
Yeah.
I enjoy going when I can, whenever I can. And yeah, I always get positive feedback and constructive feedback and yeah, enjoy seeing them. But yeah, definitely my two mates in South Africa, Marco and Trevor.
Good on you, mate. Well, hopefully they're listening to this, or they will in the future, and they'll get a bit of a chuckle from hearing them coming all the way from Brisbane, Australia. I've got a little bit of a shout out myself. Two shout outs in particular. One is a thank you. I've met a lot of people from doing my very small YouTube channel. Some great people. One in particular has sent me a gift about 2 weeks ago, and his name's Quade, and I was commenting on his Facebook page, which is Reef Viking Replicas, and this is a resin mahi mahi, which I was quite taken with, and it happened to land on my doorstep, and it says there, to Adam, signature, the Australian Aquarist. So Quade, thank you very much, mate. This is going into my fish room above Palau Reef, or it's got a hook up there waiting for it. And if you're interested, if you're a fisherman, you might want to have a replica done of your prize catch, then Reef Viking Replicas. I'll put a link down in the description to the video. I should give a thanks to my wife, because look what happens automatically. A whiskey appears in front of my face. But that wasn't the second shout out I was going to give. The second shout out is to Darby, the little professor. Now, you might have heard me talking about him before. Darby, if you're out there, mate, good on you. I had a great Tuesday afternoon with you doing creek bashing last week, stealing plants from nature. Don't tell the council, although they were, technically speaking, environmental weeds. And this little bloke, as I mentioned before, is absolutely obsessed with reptiles and aquariums and fish. And we're going to get him set up with a new little reptile enclosure. Darby, pester your mum. I'll see you on Tuesday after work. Not after work, after school. All right. Let's get started, mate. Let's get stuck into it. Yep. So, Neil, I want to talk about breeding Ultim angelfish, or what your experiences are with Ultims coming into Australia, the quality of the Ultim angelfish, whether or not Heiko Blair was correct when he said there is no true pure Ultim angelfish in the hobby, captive bred, the late Heiko, and what your experience is and what your plans are for this coming winter. And also, why winter? Let's go. Yep. Right.
Do I turn the camera around? Maybe view the Ultims?
Yeah, turn around. Go me. Yep, go for it.
Yeah, so first of all, let me just try and focus on them a little bit more. So, yeah, first of all, when I came into Australia, I found an advertisement of filial generation 1 Rio Atabapo Ultims. I'm sure they go around a lot here and there throughout the year. Ultims do come into the country from Malaysia or maybe a couple of other locations. Yeah, so with my trials and tribulations with these fish, basically I've reached out to various people abroad. Obviously, where these fish are actively being bred is predominantly Europe. Yes, Malaysia as well, where you get like the Tan brothers, Tony Tan, Jeffrey Tan, who do discus. They're also dabbling into L numbers and Ultims. The best advice that I did get was from Shoreline Aquatics. There's a gentleman who runs Shoreline Aquatics. It's a family-owned business. It's literally out of his house. His name is Thomas. Fantastic, amazing human being. He started out with Ultims trying to do this as a business pretty much. Initially, a hobby. I think he's been doing it about 8 years or more, just keeping Ultims and breeding Ultims. And basically, he lost all his fish. He was whacked straight down to the ground, and he worked his way, he fought his way back up, and now he's bred thousands of these fish. There's actually an amazing video on his fish room from Fritz Aquatics. who do all the marine salts and all the medications and things like that.
Yep.
They go around to fish rooms all over the world. So yeah, Thomas, he has basically put some, you know, basically just given me a bit of strength again to carry on. So initially, I purchased 7 Rio Atabapo. Um, this size tank is a 450 by 600 by 800 millimeter deep cube.
Do you want to just
So
go
with
back a bit so we can see
yeah,
the
right,
scope,
yeah,
mate?
it's very deep,
It's very and
very very deep.
why a deep tank?
So with these fish, you know, your larger eltums, especially your Rio Atabapo. So Rio Atabapo are the largest, most sought after eltum. You do get San Felipe from the Rio Orinoco region, tributary of the Amazon River. You do get Rio Ventuare. You get multiple catch locations, and these fish do differ a lot. Loads of different tests have been done, etc. I'm not an expert at it, but definitely did a ton of reading and watched a ton of YouTube. And why 800? So minimum 700 mil depth is a known for Altum. And I guess one of the persons who drives that is a gentleman called Simon Forkel, who's basically one of the fathers of captive bred Altums. He's over in Germany. And you'll hear him say many, many, many times, and if you speak to him, um, 700 mil. Otherwise, these fish are very tall. So basically, from the top of the dorsal fin to the bottom of those pelvics or the ventrals, they can reach 45 centimeters from top to bottom. So these fish, that's why they will never reach their full potential if you don't have a minimum 700 millimeter deep aquarium. So that's why. So basically, to get back to what happened with these fish, I procured a group of 7, and then they were doing so well. I bought them at 4 centimeters size about almost 2 years ago, and grew them. And then I bought some young San Felipe. Amazing fish, nothing wrong with them. So too many fish, 12 in total, too many fish for a small space. So volume wise, I had over 700 liters. That in theory is more than fine. But space wise, these fish whack each other, Adam. They're very, very sensitive. Um, they're very, very temperamental, to say the least. So after getting them at 4 centimeters, as you can see, this is a very big boy. He's looking
Neil,
at his baby.
sorry, mate. Can I ask you, in Australia, were you surprised at the cost of the Ultims? And are you willing to give us an indication of what Ultims do cost in Australia?
Yeah, so I was surprised seeing that it's actually not too bad compared to South Africa. So, but the location in South Africa would be better. So you set you back about $180 for a 4 or 5 centimeter Altum, about 180 each, give or take. If you buy more, you could potentially spend, let's say, 150 each, or maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
That's also why I bought a large group, to make them feel comfortable, and to pay less. And I knew, look, if one or two peg, I've still got a group to choose from, because the idea would always be to try and spawn these fish.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, it's not a fish that's, obviously we'll get into that, not a fish that everyone spawns. And it's still good to try. It still keeps me ticking, you know.
Neil, I've got a couple of. I've got one question here from Pratty87. but I've also got just a comment of my own. I guess briefly we'll get into my comment's going to be a bit quicker, I think, for you to answer, and that is that very commonly in Australia you'll see advertised through aquarium industries Peruvian ultim angels, which aren't ultim angels, are they?
No.
They are in fact scalars.
Yeah, unfortunately not ultims.
Why?
Look,
Why has that come about? Why are people getting misled that way?
I'm not 100% sure, Adam, who's the driver or how this works. For example, I'm not going to touch base on. I'll touch base on it. I'm not going to go into it too deeply, but for example, there's a lot of debates going around for years now about Dantum angelfish and albino dantums, where people say they are crossed with the altum. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone says that. But so, for example, there's a number of professors. There's one in South Africa, Professor Dirk Belstadt. He's very well known if you Google him in the Scalare and Altum in the angel world. He's a German professor who lives in South Africa who basically proved, through DNA and through all, different technologies and tests along the line, they prove that it's not possible. A Scalare will not reproduce with the Altum. They're not compatible. You hear a lot of these things, Adam. It's just, I'm not sure what the driver is and who drives it. It's not everyone's fault for sure. But I wouldn't be able to answer that accurately. Why that's being advertised like that? Potentially a higher price tag. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm sure it's burned a few people here in Australia.
Absolutely.
And I've got a question from Traddy87. Are ultims much more difficult to keep than scalars?
Much, much, much more difficult. Your scalars, your wild caught St. Isabel scalar, they can be a bit more finicky. Your nays, here and there, they might be a bit more finicky, given that they're wild caught. But anything with the filial generation, captive bred, no problems whatsoever. Altum, it's just the fish. Sorry, my hand's shaking. It's just a fish where it's just the nature of the fish. They're just harder. They're harder.
Is it pH?
I don't think it's pH, Adam. Out of my opinion is, and this also stems from shoreline aquatics, is the way. So shoreline aquatics, they're obviously in the US, and they get access to a lot of wild caught fish. Given that Brazil is in much closer proximity to the rest of the world, to the US, and they've got access. And the gentleman there, Thomas, he explained to me that the catch locations, the way that they catch these fish and basically move them around all over the world, they go through so much stress. Their metabolisms go down. They already have inherent pathogens. You can call it whatever you like. Obviously, fish out of the wild do have pathogens, but when you bag them, you throw them around, you keep them in pallets, you keep them in crates. When I got fish through my mate Marco in South Africa, my wild caught fish from Manaus, it took 48 hours on a plane just to get to Johannesburg. And then you still have to sort out customs, everything. And from there, you have to try and take them home, So it's the logistics around it make it much, much harder. If they were treated well, you'd have a much better chance of success, even with wild fish.
But based on what you're saying there, that's assuming that all the scalars that we have in the hobby are captive bred and therefore more hardy. But in saying that, we still do have access to wild caught scalars, and yet
Yeah.
they're not considered to be or experienced to be as difficult as the ultims. But
Yeah.
they
And
still
that's
do
the
experience the pathway of freight and
yep.
pallets and boxes and airplanes and airports that the ultims do. So there
Yeah,
must be
completely.
something
Yeah.
slightly different about this species.
It's just like, yeah, it's like I said in the beginning, it's I guess if we all knew, uh would have been much easier by now, you know.
Do
It's
you
just
think
the fish. It's just the fish.
do you think that they take a longer period of time because they are a larger fish to sexually mature, and therefore there's an element that are if they experience something which is a bit of a hiccup or a blackout or a pathogen or a ammonia shock, that longer period of time to mature sexually means they're potentially at risk before they get a
Uh,
chance to reproduce?
that's definitely a possibility. I'm not able to give you an exact answer, but I'd agree with you that that could be a potential. You know, could be a
Yeah,
possibility for why everyone's struggling so much.
yeah.
Most of
All right.
us.
Now, Neil, just turn the camera
Yeah.
around, mate.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just opening another beer.
That's exactly why I'm getting the camera turned around, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, all
This
good.
is, after all, an AA meeting. So, Neil's,
Absolutely.
come on, let's show us what you're drinking, buddy. Turn the camera around.
Yeah, we've got a traveler going.
I can't
Yep,
see it, mate. I can't see it.
you see it there in the corner. Oh yeah.
Come
Yep.
on, buddy. Traveler.
Yep.
Traveler. Okay. So you're drinking
Well,
a
cheers.
very belly conscious beer from Australia.
Yeah,
Shout out
absolutely.
Traveler. Cheers for a Johnny Walker red
Yep.
whiskey. Mate, what are
Cheers.
your plans? What are your plans to try and get these two angelfish to breed
Yep.
this coming winter?
Okay, so we actually when we spoke over the phone previously, you asked me about pH and things like that. Out of
Yep.
interest sake, I did a test today. So what I'm busy doing is so when these fish are resting, or when I just keep them and when I grew them out, I kept them in Brisbane tap water, no issues whatsoever. Um, Now that I'm trying to breed them, I'm slowly introducing reverse osmosis.
Mm-hmm.
So what my plans are to so currently the pH sits at about 6.5. I
Is that
tested that for you, Adam.
Thank you. Is that surprising that it's that high?
No, it's not surprising because I've been running tap water. So I waste about, just as the usual RO, you waste about what 4 liters for every liter that you make that you produce product water. So basically, they chill out, they watch TV, they do nothing, and then now I'm slowly introducing reverse osmosis
Yeah.
until the aquarium is at a stage where it's predominantly RO. Then what I'll do is on the side, I tend to take tap water. I tend to measure pH, KH, GH. Then I take my RO. I know it will sit at about neutral, like we spoke about over the phone.
Yeah.
KH nothing, GH nothing. All right.
Yeah.
So, and it comes out at about a TDS between 0 and 10. Usually it creeps up to 10 pretty quickly, but I change my deionizing cartridge a lot.
Do you want to give
Um,
us a quick squeeze down below at your
Yeah,
RO
yeah,
system and your
sure.
water
Yep.
supply system?
There you go.
Okay.
Sorry, it's trying to focus. So it's got an inline TDS meter, etc. sediment cartridge, carbon block, just your usual 3-stage with your RO membrane on top. And what I do is basically when everything's plumbed, as you saw earlier. So what I do is I start introducing RO into the sump on a float valve, drain the tank gradually, and then okay. So what I'll do is I'll see what portion of tap water can I still use. I don't necessarily want to use 100% RO unless it's necessary. Okay. So if my GH and KH is not too high, okay, in my tap water, so GH being general hardness, KH being alkaline hardness. Alkaline hardness dictates pH, that's your buffering capacity of your water. That's why I look at those two parameters predominantly. At this stage, pH doesn't matter. I'm just looking at GH, KH, especially KH for breeding, and I'll get to that. But basically, I test my tap water and I have a look at the RO. I mix that up to try and not reinvent the wheel and not trying to waste too much.
Right.
Then once I mix it up, I'll see is my GH what I want it at, which is pretty low, maximum around 3 or 4. KH should be below 1.5. Okay, I'll get to that. When I have the GH and the KH that I want, then I know I can test the TDS with my TDS pen. It's important to have a TDS pen that is temperature calibrated.
Yep.
Because warm water, cold water will give you total different readings with the same water after you heat it up. So it needs to be temperature calibrated. A brand like Milwaukee, if you can afford that. Currently, I can't afford that. And then what you do is once you have the GH and the KH that you want, you test the TDS. Then you know, give or take, that TDS gives you the correct water when you mix it. Then I know in Pretoria it was 50% tap, 50% RO, gives me a KH below 1.5, and I mix it to about 50 or 60, 65 TDS. That would give me breeding water for my discus. So currently,
Sorry, mate. Just to back up a sec, to confirm, you're looking for a KH below 1.5.
yep,
And you're looking for a carbonate, a total
general,
hardness below
yeah,
3.
general hardness. Yeah, of about 3. If it's lower, it's lower. So
So
general hardness. Sorry, yep.
sorry, mate. General hardness will account for things like calcium, magnesium.
Yeah, so you get calcium or magnesium sulfates and calcium or magnesium carbonates.
Yep.
So even when you're remineralizing waters, something like chalk, regular pharmaceutical grade chalk, is calcium carbonate. And then you get magnesium sulfates, which would be Epsom salts,
Yep.
to try and buffer your water. But again, I'm not even doing that. I'm using my tap water if need be. So currently, I'm introducing RO to try and drop the KH as much as I can. Even if the KH, is at 0, I don't want it to be 0 because that's when an aquarium could potentially crash, go down too low. So I'm aiming more or less between 1 and 1.5. There's not we're not building watches, so I'm not chasing exact parameters all the time. That'll drive you crazy.
Neil,
So
I've got a question here from Praddy87, which I think you've already more or less answered. Praddy's asked, and he happens to have in his, I don't know what you call it, thumbnail or his logo, a bunch of angelfish. So he's obviously pretty keen on what you're hearing about angelfish. He's asking, are you remineralizing your water, your RODI water? But from what I'm gathering, you're saying that you're not. You're trying to take the minerals out.
yeah, so currently I'm taking minerals out. Once it's on 100% RO, I do a separate test to see if I can potentially introduce tap water in the future to still have those parameters to try and save a bit of water and have a little bit of mineral in there.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. So currently I'm lowering the TDS, I'm lowering my GH and KH because I need natural and gradual acidification of the water column of the aquarium. So fish like Ivanacara addict, I used to prep water in a bin with hydrochloric acid, with swimming pool acid, to
Yeah.
chase a pH of 4.5.
Yeah.
And then I would drip that into the aquarium. They were fine. Eltums, I wouldn't try that. I wouldn't do that. So I run the water through peat in the sump. And what I do is I use Terminalia catappa, as you can see on that PVC pipe.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing over a month, 2, 3 months. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Neil, I've got
As
another
long as,
question for
yeah,
you, mate.
sorry, as long as I get a hatch, as long as I get something, hopefully, potentially, before the warmer period comes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we've got to get onto that too. So I've got a question here from Ursati that asks, what are you testing your KH and your general hardness with?
So I just get the drops. I just get the drops, the test kits, whether it be API is all right. If you go to your local fish store, they could assist you. Maybe get like a mid-range one. Maybe not necessarily the most expensive thing, but I use the drops, the indicator tests.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Mate, I've got another question for you. How about you? The question will go both for the ultims, but also for the red pencil fish that you're working with. You want to jump across
Yeah.
to that tank,
Yeah,
and
sure.
and I'll ask you or give you my thoughts regarding the pH of the aquarium.
Yep.
There you go, buddy.
Yeah, hopefully
Is it getting
I'll
bloody
be
hot?
able to see the pencils properly.
How hot's it getting in your garage by now?
Yeah, it's actually okay-ish tonight. But usually, yeah, the tanks without a heater, it's about 30 degrees, 29, sometimes up to about 32. That's why I had to move my hippocampus cuda, my seahorses,
Yeah.
because I was running fans and an ink bird, and it just hard on the creatures, on the animals. So I
Oh, mate.
decided to
And,
gift
and
them.
on that fact, I didn't think about that. You contacted me regarding those seahorses, and my first suggestion was you got to get a chiller. Imagine
Yeah.
putting a chiller in that room, pumping out all that hot air to make it about 35 degrees Celsius.
And work against itself the entire day. Keep running
And of course,
24/7.
you can't leave your garage door wide open in case someone walks in and nicks your ultimate.
Yeah, but we'll see how we go. I love the seahorses, so I'm sure I'll make a plan. Being an
Yeah.
addict, I'm sure I'll make some sort of a plan. Probably sell. Yep.
If you want to show us these pencil fish tank, and then I can
Yeah.
ask
Let me. Okay. So let me turn it around. So hopefully everyone will see them. I'm just going to introduce some baby Brian.
There we go.
Yep. Let me try and do that. Let's see if I can lure them out and get a good shot or something.
So for context for everybody, this is a monostomus rubricordatus, is it?
Yeah, that's it.
The
Purple pencils.
purple pencils. Also in
Yes.
Australia, we have the Beckfords, which are the common guys, but we also have the coral red pencil fish. But one thing I learned that was quite interesting from Neil is that where I was very used to the concept of the Beckford's pencilfish, which is a more or less gregarious pencilfish, not necessarily schooling, but certainly being happy to live in small dispersed groups. But Neil was saying that the purple and the coral red aren't like that.
Yeah, they're a bit feisty, and that's also based off of I've reached out prior to trying to split these up into pairs and things like that. I reached out to some hobbyists abroad, as we all do, I guess, and that's also where it stems from. They just little micro predators, and I guess if you got a larger aquarium, that would be fine. But trying to breed in a group, in a colony, what I'm going to do is, Adam, I'm going to do this. Just
I
try
know
and see if I can.
we've got a very exciting shot of your sponge filter at the moment, Neil.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
But
because
like
we're
I said,
addicts, we're okay with it.
yeah, and that's part of the hobby is having fish that you never see, eh?
Yeah.
That's also, it's like your L numbers and things like that when they just hide and yeah. Oh, there goes the one around. It's actually, let me just let me try and
That's
do
the
that.
female.
Sorry, yeah, I saw something. Let me just try and
Yeah.
get something for everyone. Yeah,
I
because
think
just and for everyone's reference, yeah, sorry, Adam, is I had a bit of a incident over the weekend. Long story short is I had to move racks, and these fish have been a lot of these tanks now have been through a little bit of a move yesterday.
Yeah.
Usually I get a couple of good videos out of these guys if I sit still, and then
Yeah.
they come out and feed. They definitely keen on their baby Brian, that's for sure. I might have just put them through a lot. Even the lights were off pretty much most of the day yesterday and part of this morning. Then I got them back on a timer. So yeah, part of the hobby, eh?
Yeah, well, I think we caught a glimpse of what I think is the female pencil coming towards the front
Yeah.
of the shot.
Let me just
Oh, the far side
sorry.
against the glass. There she goes. There,
Yeah, that's the. Let me just see here.
the female or the male?
Oh, that's looks like the male. Trying to see it. So yeah, we
So
try and see.
this is the hard thing. These guys, I was up at Smith's Aquarium in Brisbane,
Yeah,
and they had in their display tank what I could only think is the purple pencil,
yeah,
and it was absolutely stunning amongst their
yeah,
plant aquarium. Um,
yeah,
and when I found out from you last night that these guys are not a gregarious fish, but rather a pair style fish, which dashed all my hopes about having a large group in a planted aquarium. On the far left hand side behind the sponge filter, mate.
yeah,
Might be your right hand side.
yeah. He's
Yeah,
heading over there. Like I
that's
said,
fine.
unfortunately, I've mucked
Yeah.
around a fair bit yesterday. Not my fault, but yeah.
Do you want to just
Sorry.
turn your camera around, mate? We've got a couple of questions for you.
Yep.
We can just see how sweaty you're getting in there, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So first question is again from Ursasi. I really like that name, Ursasi. Do you culture any live foods to condition your pencils?
Yeah, so the only thing I do predominantly is baby brine. I hatch baby brine shrimp. I've got some grindle worms on the way this week. Uh, what I do is I run a culture and then I throw it away when it gets hotter because I probably need a wine fridge or something like that to keep the temperatures cooler and keep it consistent at about 17 to 20 degrees Celsius. They don't enjoy, all these cultures go sour and it's just a mess. So what I do is I do micro worms, I do grindles, white worms. That's about it. And just baby brine, frozen brine shrimp, frozen mice, just things like that. Are pretty much the staple in a good granular food. But yeah, for the pencils, they run on baby brine until
Yeah.
I get grindles. They do eat they love the brindle worms.
Okay. One question from myself, but also one thought. I'll give you my thought at first. Why don't you try vinegar eels, and then you can most of the time people that grow vinegar eels will strain the eels the worms, before they feed their fish. But if you do the old shotgun therapy dose of vinegar eels, you're going to be acidifying your tank at the same time.
Yeah, it's just
You're a control freak,
yeah. Yeah, no, it's also there's 20 liters of water. So let me give you a good example. I made a basic mistake when I first got these pencils. Um, they in pure RO or in rainwater harvested from the roof, which I filter, and then what I did was I was feeding baby brine, but I wasn't rinsing it enough properly. So the
Yeah.
TDS would skyrocket, the KH would, GH would skyrocket, and 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 they were fine, but that's part of why they weren't also, showing any breeding behavior from the start. Then I sorted that out. Then I feed them now with RO water. So I rinse the baby brine out and I put that in pure RO water. So that, and things like vinegar eels in 20 liters, 30 liters, it would acidify too quickly. You want the acidity, but, there. Sorry. Let me just, they moved out now. See, this is my
Oh,
hobby.
sure.
Look at that. Let me try and zoom in. Hopefully they don't move.
Yep.
I think this is very relatable for everyone. Bloody hell.
Oh,
He's
we've had
Yeah,
some.
they can't look at him. They can't resist the baby brine, but you know, just with all the moving. There's the male to
Yeah.
try and. There he comes. It's just yeah, Adam. It's just the fish, eh? But that's also. I guess I like struggling, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
All right.
it's a
And I'll
cool
give you
fish. Oh, there you go. See, it's just
I'll
not.
give you my thought process before. Holy crap, my wife. I'm just going to turn my phone around to show you what my wife is delivering me at the moment.
Well,
Well, Neil's talking a lot.
Neil's talking a lot, so I have to drink a lot, apparently. Neil, my thought was, I don't know much about this other than how to grow aquarium plants, and that is that you can get yourself a Milwaukee pH controller that can control your injection of carbon dioxide to grow your plants.
Yep.
However, in the absence of plants, the injection of carbon dioxide will acidify the water, hence carbonic acid. Is there any thought process that maybe using something like that might help to gradually, using the Milwaukee controller, reduce the pH to where you want it? Obviously, there's a danger zone where fish start gasping at the surface, but is that something you've ever thought about?
It's something that I've actually never thought about. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think if you have the capacity to get that bit of kit, you could give it a go and test it out. I would say I just I've always tried just to use humic acids and tannins as far as I can. And yeah, just with that natural process, it's about being patient for me, you know, and that's the advice that I've received over the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
All right.
you could. That's definitely a very good idea. I would, you know, I'd love to give that a go, depending on what the kit is and how
Yeah.
that sits you back, how much it sits you back. But I would definitely say that's a very good idea. Definitely.
Neil, do you want to just? I don't think those not cardinals, those pencils are going to show.
Pencils are going to come out for us to the
Yeah.
front. Yeah.
Maybe jump out of that tank, and I think maybe we might have a bit of a broad talk about your
Yes.
thoughts on seasonal breeding. So breeding during the summertime for you is out of the equation. Maybe you could use things like some of the cardinals or the Corydoras or plecos as an example. But you spoke to
Yeah.
me a fair bit about summertime in Brisbane being the wrong season.
Yeah. So for myself, it doesn't work well. So with the Hoplosoma, obviously everything was called Corydoras, and now it's moved over to Hoplosoma and Osteogaster and whatever else they call now. Um, so species like that I tend to focus on do not do well in the warmer water. Like they're fine, they're eating, you're just maintaining or sustaining them. When the cooler periods come, that's when I start seeing movement and eggs. And it's also because of the fact that it's a bit unbearable for myself in this garage during summer. As I said, it hits about 30 degrees Celsius, even higher some days. And then again, with the cooler temperatures, if you think about South America, and that, not that I'm an expert at all, but everyone that I've spoken to, some of these people live in South America and they harvest fish. There's another person, for example, Jeremy Bosch, who's in the US. He's an amazing breeder, L46 Hippencistra zebra breeder. This is the gentleman that I've been talking to for a number of years, probably 7 years or even 10 years. I need to date back and have a look. But him and I have been exchanging ideas on South American fish. He's even dabbling into discus. We exchange ideas, try and help each other, across the ocean. And in America, it's about obviously what's happening here, not what's happening in South America. But if you think about South America during the dry season, everything dries up, everything heats up, the water's concentrated, the fish suffer, but when the rainy season comes, the water can rise by, I've read and heard by about 10 meters. Then you've got that influx of cooler, fresh water that's got no to very little mineral content, very low conductivity.
Because as you
And,
were
and the
saying,
fish reproduce. Sorry, yep.
oh, sorry, mate. As you were saying, we've got a combination of rainfall, which has got zero mineralization, but you
And food.
mentioned something which I didn't even think about. Yeah, that's it. Have some refreshment, mate. Looking a bit sweaty. You've got there's snow melt.
Snow melting off of the Andes. And if you look at a lot of the species, there's a gentleman, everyone who does Corridora Dene knows about Ian Fuller. And Ian, basically, in a nutshell, he's got a business, Go Wild Peru. And obviously, the Andes is in Peru. And he, even all your CW numbers is Corridoras World, and that's his website. Anyone who wants to learn about Hoplosoma or the, Corys as we know them, should have a look at Scott Cat. is the one website, and then the main one is Corridoras World. And a lot of those species you'll find in Peru, where that runoff happens off of the Andes. And like I said, you get that fresh influx. And winter time for me, yes, there's no barometric, atmosphere pressure drop. Our
Yeah.
rainy season that I've experienced, look, I haven't experienced too much because I've been working night shift, fly in, fly out in Sydney and all over the country. But what I've seen since I've been here is the rain is predominantly during the warmer periods. But what do I have? I have water changes as my rain simulation,
Yeah.
and I can control temperatures. A lot of these fish like the cooler waters. I have kept and bred wild caught sturby, for example, which is a much longer fish, larger cory than your captive bred sturby.
Neil, you want to turn around and show us your sturby cores, mate?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Most people.
Not that your face is not pretty enough, but maybe the sturby might be appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes me feel more comfortable as well. So those are your hot soma sturby. Sorry, let me just zoom in there. Yeah. Okay, but so anyway, yeah, I've kept them bred wild caught, and those fish, I've kept them successfully and had spawns as low as 17 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
So,
Which is
you know,
unusual for
yeah.
sturbays. Unusual for sturbays because they're the one species of cory which is suggested as being the ideal tank mate for discus.
Exactly. And discus, wild discus, everyone knows about Santarem or Santarum discus, Santarem. This is a gentleman who's got, shops, setups around Europe. He's got setups in South America. And if you look at him, if you look at his videos and when they have these live chats, he's done various tests out on the Amazon River. Discus sit at about 26 degrees Celsius in the wild. And if you compare that to what we're keeping them at, but like for myself, I used to keep discus at 29. That's the optimum temperature for me because I try and grow them out to their full potential. I need a chunky forehead, a nice thick, healthy discus. But Santarem, they breed wild discus. They leave them with the parents, and it's all at 26 and a half, degrees Celsius. Eltums, for example, that's also why that tank with the heater's not on and it runs between 28 and 30 degrees Celsius, without a heater. During the winter months, the Eltums want to sit at 26. With lower temperature, you've got much lower bacterial load in the water column.
Okay. Neil, well, you may or may not know that I like reptiles as well as fish. And one of the things I was listening to in regards to reptiles and particularly geckos and frogs was the use of misting systems and water changes, if you're an aquarist, to coincide with changes in the local weather pattern. So pressure changes. So I've got a question from a Stacey here that says, do you try and coincide breeding attempts with an incoming weather front, such as this evening, and changing barometric pressures? So do you do anything? Do you do an extra water change? Do you do anything on the spur of a moment to try and capitalize on an incoming weather front?
Absolutely. I absolutely use that to my advantage. It's not always necessary, but usually when a storm comes, the temperatures, when they cool down enough, I do that absolutely. And things like gold laser cories, for example, those fish are CW009 from memory. I would float. I would always freeze water in Coke bottles or any containers, keep it in the freezer, and I would drop those bottles into the tank and let them float to have that at least a 4 degrees Celsius temperature swing, a drop. And then if you've got the storm on top of that, where barometric pressures drop, you're usually you're on the money.
Okay. We've got a couple of, oh, hello. The Ginger Ninja from South Africa has got another African phrase which I can't pronounce properly. It says, Neil, gooey nog nb.
Oh, Neil, yeah. Neil, point off the beer.
What the hell does that mean?
It means pour another beer. Yeah. Yeah.
Quade, he's drinking his calorie-controlled, stomach-limiting beer, so it's easy for him.
But I must say, if the taste wasn't there, I would have left it immediately.
I know, we're going to have to try that.
This is a safe space, and this is a body-positive space.
That's it, I love it. Pratty87 asks, do you collect this? Oh, do you want to show us your stir-by Corydoras setup?
Yep, sure. Okay.
I've got a question here from Pratty87 about them.
Sorry, clicked the wrong thing. So, pretty much, okay, so...
I've got a question first. Before you jump in,
yep.
Pratty87 asks, do you collect the stir-by eggs or leave them on the glass? Mine tended to eat their eggs.
Yeah, collect them. Always remove them. They eat fish like Aspidoras, CW52. They leave the eggs. Pygmaeus, Astartes, they leave the eggs. But your larger Hoplosoma, Osteogasters, lineage 8 or lineage 9 fish, you just take the eggs away if you want a viable. You might see, I'll show you guys Duplicarius, for example, but you might see fry with certain Hoplosoma. You might see them, if you've got loads of moss, but you need tons of Java moss or any type of moss to let the fry, give them hiding space. Or what you could do is add loads of rock. So start with larger stuff, have smaller, medium stuff in between, and the fry go into those cavities and they hide. They get away from predation.
Do you want to show us your stir-by setup?
Yeah, so 100%. Currently, what I'm doing is, so all these tanks are drilled. So the plan is they're going to get bulkheads and they're going to go onto a sump. The idea is that there's larger volume through the sump, but the Corydoras are kept at close quarters. So they enjoy, if you listen to a gentleman called Rob McClure in the US, he's regarded as the guy who's following up Ian Fuller. So Ian has bred like in excess of 120 species of Corydora Danae, and Rob McClure has done like 80 in a short period of time. So if you listen to those guys, it's very important to reach out to them, to listen to what they have to say. And sorry, let me just go back and take that in. So yeah, they want to be in close quarters, so they'll have volume, but they won't have a lot of space, which is inducive for spawning behavior.
Okay.
Sorry.
So stir-by Corydoras are a species which was out of my league for a long time because they had a higher price tag, and I wish to have a fairly decent number of them. They've come down a little bit in price, but they're still pretty sought after because of their association with discus tanks. Where are they
Yeah.
sitting at the moment, mate?
Yeah, they're not expensive at all. But that's if you look at certain species of cories, you easily pay $200 a cory, $400 a cory. I believe, there's new species like CW217s. Those fish are very, very expensive. So they're not regarded as expensive. They are the run of the mill. But for any hobbyist who wants to have cash flow and have a bit of just a bit of cash flow in your hobby to pay for food, to buy more expensive fish or sought after fish, they're fantastic. So, yeah, everyone buys them. I think everyone still wants them, from what I've heard and asked around. And it's the same, it's all over the world. They're still popular,
Mate,
not expensive.
they're a good looking cory.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're a chunky cory. They're the step up from the pepper, from the bronze, from the panda, in my mind anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And we
Sorry, yeah.
sorry, and look, it's a versatile cory. I've kept them with discus at 29 degrees Celsius, 30. I've done heat treatments on discus, metronidazole, 32 degrees Celsius, 33. I didn't have problems with the stirbe. They were in there with the discus. The only thing with stirbe is they've got those orange fins, ventrals, and they sting, hey? They tend to sting you, and it's true they are poisonous. So when you move in fish like that around, you take before you stir the tank, you take a container filled with tank water. Then that water is clean. Then you start catching them, and put it in a different container. Then you've got a clean container. So you've got two that you fill with water, you put them in the one, you've got the clean separate container, chuck them in the one, leave them in there, let them darken up, let them stress, then they release toxins, then take them, put them in the second container, then you know they're okay to go into bags or to go into another tank. Because if you chuck that water in a new tank, they kill your cardinals, all your characins, your rainbows, they kill your fish.
Yeah. Okay.
They're very toxic.
I've got a comment here from Ursasi, who says, I found my trilineatus who laid their eggs under leaves on sand, always had fry in their tank, but the other species laying on glass ate them. So the trilineatus always had fry, but other species ate their fry.
Yes. If you, like I said, think a species like Duplicarius, trilineatus, if you look at maybe Similis or Caudimoculatus, those species are Whitesmani. They tend to procreate if you've got leaf litter, you've got moss, you will tend to find fry, but if you're chasing little bit numbers, you're not going too crazy, but you want larger batches to spend your time on. You want maybe 50 plus, maybe 150 eggs, 100 eggs. Then you need to remove the eggs all the time.
Yeah.
That's the best way.
Do you want to show us your flagtail cories?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Now, I have to admit to something now, Neil.
Yep.
I've tried to prompt our audience to ask you how much your catfish cost, but everyone's a little bit too polite.
Yeah, unfortunately, species like Parallelis, I moved when I was working fly in, fly out. I moved my Parallelis to a good friend. So he's got them. They spawned all the time. But they set you back at about $200 per Aquarium. CW49's about $200 Aquarium. L numbers, prices obviously fluctuate. I'm saying what I paid. Things like L236 Super White, I believe they came at 4 centimeters. I paid $750 a pop per fish. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
To me, coming from both a saltwater and a freshwater hobby, I'm used to the saltwater side of things costing a lot more than the freshwater. And these days, I mean, I was only looking at a freshwater wholesale price list about a week ago from a wholesaler in Sydney. This is a wholesale price list. And I was looking at rainbow fish for my new, not my new, but for my Saratoga aquarium. And I was blown away at the price of what, in this case, rainbow fish was coming in at. So, I mean, I'm not going to, well, let's just say wholesale was sitting around at least $12 or $15 a fish, which means you're looking at a $30 to $45 a fish price range. So freshwater is by no means the cheap alternative to saltwater. What have we got here, mate? We're looking at
flagtail. So they are Hoprosoma, if I pronounce it correctly, Oya puiquensis or Oya puiquense. Whoever can pronounce that properly probably deserves an award. But anyway, I'll focus now. I'm just adding some baby brine.
This is probably the worst. This is probably the worst time to be doing a live stream for fish because everyone wants to go to bed, don't they?
Yeah, I'm worried about work and all that. But sorry, let me just try and focus there.
That's all right. Do you say you're worried about work? You have me enough.
No. People are worried. Like maybe panic a bit. Sunday blues. Could be. I'm trying to focus on them. But yeah, they're very nice, Hoplosoma.
They're all gone to bed, haven't they? I think they've all gone to bed.
All of the viewers.
So we've got a comment here from Friar Duck who says that work is a 4-letter word. And also says that he's still looking for an L239 Barancistris Begini, the blue panac.
Oh, blue panac, yeah. Yeah, flagtails.
There's the flagtails, yeah.
Yeah, and they in with Festivum cichlids.
So what's the situation with the blue with the flagtails in Australia, Neil?
I'm not 100% familiar, so I jumped in and purchased this group that I've got, and I don't think maybe you don't see them too often. I wouldn't be able to exactly tell you. I'm actually seeing eggs on my camera. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out.
What your son's body just
what tank is it? Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm trying to figure out where they are. I don't see them in person, but I see them on the bloody camera.
So you know what that means now, from an autistic fish addict point of view, is that you can't concentrate for the rest of the live stream because there's eggs on the glass.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I can't see them. I'll have to check later. Anyway, but I see them on camera.
Well,
But yeah,
let's jump to your flagtail. Sorry, not your flagtail. Let's jump to your festivums, cichlids.
yeah.
So you've got this group there because you told me a little bit about the way that the festivums associate with the angels in the wild.
Yes, with the Eltums.
Yep. Is that
Yeah,
your plan
so
long term?
just say again, sorry. Is that
Is
my
that
plan?
yeah, to try and
Yeah,
yep. Go ahead.
yeah, absolutely. They would go into a large aquarium with my Eltums. So I've got this pair that I'm working on, and then along the line, I'll get in some new blood. Um, and they will go in there. They just make them feel comfortable. If you look at all the videos in nature, when all those guys go and dive and go into the river, you see them moving around with ultims, and it's a slow moving fish, very placid. So it's a match made in heaven, you know. Um, and look, and my idea would be, so I don't know if you've ever heard of, if you've got a more difficult species and you want to wean them over on food. So,
Mm,
for example, you've got discus, wild caughts. You want them to eat your food mix. What's
yeah.
helped me in the past is I would add rams, for example, with the discus.
Yep.
And the discus, it's like they show them it's food, it's safe, that type of thing. So the
That's
idea with these flags would be, with these festivums would be, flag cichlids would be to have less altum and still have this group as like a big brother, that type of thing, to make them feel comfortable.
yeah. So you're not saying that you would try and cohabit the festivums with the ultims to try and make them feel comfortable to breed.
No, just to keep with heckle, certain discus that works. I don't know whether it works with Altums, but I know that's our shoreline aquatics. He would do that. He would add some heckle discus, blue face pownini or orange base heckle, and he would get he would get fish spawning. So yeah, it may be along the line. It could work, but my initial idea is just to keep them together, to keep the Eltums comfortable, so that I don't need a group of you know 6 or 12 Eltums.
Yeah, we're trying to save some money.
Yeah.
Mate, one of the things I did when I promoted this live stream tonight was I advertised it to the ANFA group, which is the Australian New Guinea Fishers Association. And you've got a few of, I'll say, their fish in your garage. You got some Bosemano rainbows, you got some Uchiensis, and you got some Gertrude blue eyes. Do you want to take us into your rainbow fish thoughts coming from a South African?
Yeah. Yeah. So I kept a limited amount of rainbows in South Africa. I've bred them over there. But you get your praycocks, your red rainbows, and bosemani. Every now and then you'll find thread fins. But I must say, not nearly the variety, obviously, that you'll find over here. And the only weird thing is rainbows over there. Some of them, like your red rainbows, are expensive, but
So
you
what does a salmon red cost you in Pretoria?
look, it's a bit hard to compare, but with your salary and cost of living there, They are pretty expensive. So it when I was over there, it would set you back about 70 or 90 rand, which is only, like say $9 or $7. But that's what I'm saying. You can't for the money over there, it is expensive for a
Right.
rainbow.
Yeah.
If you compare them to other fish, even discus over there, it's you can't really compare, with what things cost over there and over here. It's a bit hard to directly compare it
You know
with exchange rates.
the crazy thing is, I'm stuck in a bit of a limbo land of awareness when it comes to rainbow fish because I bred rainbows for a fair amount of time, and that was what my fish shed was. It was all rainbow fish, and I'm used to rainbows costing between $10 to $12 a piece, maybe
Yeah,
$20 to $25 a pair. And for a while there, I could not give what you're showing there, which is Bose Manai rainbow fish. I couldn't give them away. In fact, I advertised. I mean, granted, I'm on the mid north coast in Coffs Harbour, but I couldn't give them away. No one would
yeah,
come and collect them. And now, what I'm hearing and seeing is that these guys are costing between $17 to $25 a piece, and up to $30 or
yeah,
$35 a pair.
absolutely.
Yeah. And the trouble with them is they are so slow to mature that the breeder sits on the fry, on the juveniles, for such a long time to
Yeah.
try and get some coloration to sell to the LFS.
Yeah, absolutely. In my case, let's say you're a fish farmer, they wouldn't be the best option. But in my case, my supply chain would sit in a bit of variety. So I would look at having 3 or 4 larger rainbows. I'd look at having 3 or 4 smaller types, and then you've got a bit of various batches going, different sizes, different stages. But the thing is, I always ask as well, if I'm looking to supply something, I'll ask a couple of local fish stores or just one, and they'll say, yep, 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 they'll want them or whatever before I try and do batches. It's just fair on the animals. I
Yeah.
always look at what's the market.
The crazy thing is, though, is that, I mean, I just put a comment down below that says Uchiensis are up next, and I've been to the Uchiensis Creek. It's not even a river; it's a tiny little creek back of Moresby, below Innisfail in North Queensland, and it's about 3 meters wide, bubbling away below a road. But it's the New Guinea rainbows. It's the Bose Manai. It's the salmon reds. It's the turquoise and the neon that are the mainstay of the rainbow fish hobby coming through the LFS. And the Uchiensis, the Ichimensis, all the various trifasciatas that we obsess over in the rainbow fish hobby, and that Angfa obsess over, that is, I hate to say it, but it's less appealing to the average consumer. So
Absolutely.
what you've got there in front of you in terms of Bose Manai is, from a breeding perspective, a winner.
Yeah.
Are you putting
colour.
mops? Are you putting mops in that tank?
Not yet. I will. So I've got a batch of Uchiensis again. So what I'll do is I've got a rack, a set of
Do you,
tanks that's
do you
going
want
to
to take
come
us?
sometime.
Do you want to take us to
Yeah.
you got
Which
some
is
fry from the Uchiensis at the moment with a mop there?
yeah, yeah. I've just got them on top here until I get my rack. So I've got some other plans. Here's a bunch of Uchis. that hatched on the 20th. So what, 2 days ago, for example.
Just see if you can rest
Um,
that camera down slowly. Oh yeah, we can see him. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, there's tons of them. So
Now
yeah, again, just careful of how much I do and when I do it, because you don't want to sit with a fish room full of fish that you can't get rid of. So yeah, there seems to be a bit of a market for these guys, and what I've heard is obviously within Angfer and I haven't been to an Angfer meeting. It's something that I really want to do, and be part of the community and learn. And basically, I've heard they're apparently a little bit harder to come by. Not like amazingly rare, but yeah, there is a bit of a market for them apparently.
I think the thing with Uchiensis is that they've been overlooked. The whole Queensland coastline of rainbow fish has been maybe lumped into the whole splendida, and the concept that there's some other species such as Uchiensis from that small creek, Ichimensis from there's a series of lakes up there or dams, has been kind of overlooked. But Uchiensis is a really pretty and slightly smaller rainbow fish. Neil, you got a bit of a hello here from Rasmuskirochhoff 7021. Hello, me and my girlfriend are watching from Denmark. We watch all your videos. I'm assuming they're referring to me here. But say hello to you too, mate.
There's a problem if I've got videos out there.
Maybe
I need to address that offline, Adam.
Neil, have you told your wife that you're on OnlyFans yet?
Yes.
Taken like a South African. Very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to show us your Uchiensis tank, mate?
Yeah. Yeah, let's have a look. Okay, so I've got the light, the torch here up top. We try and obviously there's a fish that likes to display and hold still. Just figure this out how I'm going to get them.
They're all freaking
There's
out,
quite
aren't
a,
they?
yeah, there's quite a few in here. I'll figure something out now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll switch off the torch for now. Just try and
they're freaking out.
Yeah,
so this is the Melanotaenius Uchiensis from North Queensland. These guys have really nice red and kind of blue horizontal lines on their body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were gifted to me by a fantastic gentleman, FNQ, far North Queensland, Corridoras, Leonard, and he was kind enough to send me a group of them in the beginning when I came over to Oz, and and I've multiplied this group of his, and I intend on doing so for the foreseeable future. So I guess it's a bit of an informal, just a shout out to him. A fantastic, knowledgeable breeder of Corridora Dene.
Twice in the one meeting, mate. That's a lot of shout outs. What are you going to do?
Yeah, but look, I started with this hobby in 2008 or 2009. It's been a while. So a lot of people that you come across and learnings, and I guess that's what's great.
Mate, I got a hello to you from SS Aquascape and Fish, and I've also got Pratty87 asking, "What is this club you're talking about?"
Oh, Angfer.
Yeah, he's referring to Angfer. You got any information there, mate?
Not much, Adam. I think you more, it's more suited for you to answer that. All I know is, it's like you said, the Australian New Guinea Fishers Association, and
Yeah.
what they do is I've seen they've got club meetings, and they've got an auction as well. They had a recent auction. That was the Cichlids Association. But anyway, ANGFA
Yeah.
have got auctions, and it's a great group of breeders, pretty much.
Yeah.
ANGFA, local breeders who focus on local fish out of all the
Yeah.
different rivers and creeks across Australia.
Oh, there's a nice male just goes past there. They really are a pretty fish. I did a 6 foot by
Yeah,
18 inch by 18 inch display for these Uchensis a few years ago, and they were absolutely beautiful. The hard part with rainbow fish is that they stress, and when they stress, they go into a very beige coloration, and that's pretty
yeah,
classic for what you see at your fish store. But when they're really not stressed, such as now with the camera
yeah,
in their face, and they're happy, their colors are really beautiful. And this is one species to look out for. I've got, so Angfa the mate, at the Brisbane, there was the Queensland cichlid auction up there. Was it a Saturday, two ago? There was an Angfa auction down in Sydney as well. So Angfa,
mhm,
the Australian Guinea Fishers Association, has statewide subgroups, I guess you'd say. So you can be a member of the New South Wales or the Queensland, and you can get involved with other breeders and get your hands on fish such as this that you may not be able to get through your local fish store. Neil, do you
yeah,
want to take us to what have we seen? We've seen your ultims, we've seen your you know what? I was about to say let's go to the plecos. I'm gonna put a question in the vote. I'm gonna put a question in the vote as to who wants to see your black Moscow guppies or your L number plecos. Hang on a sec. Just turn the camera around and show us you're drinking beer for a bit because I'm out of whiskey. And I'm going to say L number plecos or black Moscow guppies. L number plecos. Or because we're up at about 1 hour and 45 minutes, you aquarium addict or black moss. Don't drink that fast. I can see you through the corner of my bloody eye. Right. Okay. So I need to get another whiskey here. I should put my bloody wife. She's not even watching. She can't give me another whiskey. All right. I've got a son who's coming here. Thank you, Ned. There we go. There. Oh. So my son Ned's going to give me another whiskey, and we're going to do, Neil, we're going to do a final. We're running out of time, mate. We've got 1 hour and 46. It goes fast, doesn't it? I think what we should do is have a look at either your guppies, which is something
yep,
I've never managed to keep alive, or your plecos, which has cost
yep,
you an absolute fortune.
yep. Let's have a look at the one group.
Oh, hang on. We've got plecos coming, guppies coming. Show us your guppies. Show us your guppies.
Yeah,
Late
so
party. Let's see the
I don't know,
plecos.
I don't know
So we got
why.
two, mate. We've got 2 votes for plecos so far,
Yep.
and I will say one vote for guppies. Oh, no, it's turned the tables. We're straight to the guppies.
Yeah.
Daniel Witcher 3599 has said bugger the catfish, and
Go to the guppies.
Gabby has said guppies. So thanks, guys.
Yeah. They so you know what? These fish are number one, no nonsense. And number two, they're definitely pretty to look at and they clean. To find a pure line, I found it pretty hard. Like you'll buy you'll buy a certain strain of guppy, and they'll throw all sorts of Michelins or whatever you want to call them, runts, and with these fish, I have not found them throwing you know, one guppy that's not pitch black. And the babies, when they just come out of the female, um, they look like little tadpoles. They're just black from the top as well. When I catch them out and I put them in a clear container, they pitch black. And yeah, for some reason, look at those crypts growing. The CW10s is gold lasers, Corys, Oplosoma. Oh, excuse me if they're not Oplosoma, but yeah, there's CW10s at the back there. They're hiding. Um, and these are my dithers, and you can see the two-spot crimson rainbows in between there, the juveniles that, procreated over a period of less than a week that I didn't know about. When I viewed the tank the other day, I thought, what are these for?
I was about to say, you were talking about pure black guppies, and I saw some transparent fish swimming through
Yeah.
the crypt leaves.
Those are the crimsons that managed to, I didn't know they were ready to lay eggs. They're still young, and clearly they're old enough.
Yeah. We've got a comment here from Daniel Witcher 3599 that says that the L numbers are the expensive fish that you never see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're cool, they're interesting,
But
but
why?
they are upsetting. Well, let me tell you in a nutshell. Just the parental aspect of it. Like, for example, Hypensistrus zebra. I'm going off of chats that I've had with Jeremy, who's a fantastic zebra, zeb breeder. Even my mate over in South Africa breeds a load of zebs, and it's just the male, how he looks after the eggs, the regulars, how he fans them. He basically, in a nutshell, he gets the female close to the cave, and he'll basically act like a shark. He'll bite her on the side, and he'll force her. He'll get her into the cave. He'll keep her in, and it's basically pretty much either you laying eggs or you're not coming out. And he keeps her hostage. She lays eggs. Then he kicks her out at the back door, and he looks after those eggs. And then even when the fry hatch, there's wrigglers. They consume their yolk sacs. After about 3 weeks, they've consumed the yolk sac, and then he cautiously, gradually lets the fry out of the cave to go and look for food, because obviously the yolk sacs have been consumed. They don't have food. So it's just the way that they go about their breeding, and that's what's fascinating. And it's just a beautiful bloody fish to look at. Like, let me show you the L236 Super White, which is similar to a Zeb, same price tag, sometimes more. If I can just find it. Now, that's the point. Now, if I can find it, let me turn my camera.
So, Neil, to clarify, this group of catfish have been, I guess, identified by I'm not going to say scientists, by people who have found them in the wild at a rate which is faster than what the scientists and the taxonomists can identify. Is that correct? And hence the L numbers.
Yeah, They do have. It's not that they undescribed. So, for example, with Corridoras, you'll get CW, which is Corridoras World, Ian Fuller's website. That's fish that are undescribed or what's the word for it? But that's why they have those codes. Some of the L numbers, if you have a SP, so there's a big problem that I have over here in Australia. People don't know what a L183, Starlight, and Cistrus is.
I don't.
We've got peppermint plecos, which are L181, but everyone talks about Starlight Ancistrus or Ancistrus dolichopterus. So dolichopterus is a L183. The difference is the babies on your peppermints look like dolichopterus when they're small. When they grow out and mature, they lose their white tip on their tail fin and they lose the white tip on their dorsal fin, the L181s. They are called SP L181 because they have not been described yet. L183 is the Starlight Ancistrus, the common name, and that is Ancistrus dolichopterus. But we call them dolichopterus over Australia, but they're not.
Okay.
So that's when we have undescribed fish is SP. L number is excuse my pronunciation, but it's like Loricoridae, or I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but that's the L, and the code makes it, the numbers make it easier to reference those fish. But a lot of them, like here is L134, their scientific name or Latin name is Picoltia compta, or leopard frog is their common name, you know?
So, can you say the scientific name again?
Picoltia compta.
Picoltia.
Yeah.
Picoltia
Yeah, so it's
compta.
PECK, yeah,
All right.
PECKOLTIA, and then Compta COMPTA.
Neil, I've got a couple of questions here for you, mate. You ready?
Yep.
We'll start with an easy one. Does Neil have any socials? In other words, can someone contact you somehow?
I guess just on Messenger, eh? Like if someone's abroad, I guess just on Facebook Messenger, probably.
So can I put a link to your Facebook?
Yeah, it's not a problem.
All right. Next question is from John Maud. How you going, John? Cheers. John asked, what is the going price? He's going backwards slightly. What's the going price for Ultim angelfish these days?
Well, yeah, for a 4 or 5 centimeter fish in Australia is about 180 Australian dollars.
180 per fish.
Yeah, per fish. Yeah, for 4 or 5 centimeter juvenile.
Yeah. And so for comparison, have you got a comment as to what a scalar angelfish would cost these days? Let's say a wild type, my favorite, the Manakapuru.
I have not. I've got no idea. I would love to keep them. I've never actually kept them. My friend over in South Africa has kept them, bred them. He's keeping them again. So yeah, I've got no idea. If you want proper fish from Simon Forkel in Germany, that would be loads of money. But you know, to get them here, and obviously I don't think we're allowed to get fish from over there. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know of anyone yet.
And I've got a comment, not a question, but a comment from Daniel Witcher 3599. Daniel has stated in regards to the L number plecos, they will only change their names in 5 years anyway.
Wow,
So
yeah.
he's having me a crack at the taxonomists out there that are attempting to categorize these fish. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I agree. I agree with that. Um, it's a bit of a hard one, eh? And the thing is, it's like the way they classify these fish, the way they go about it all over the world. There's obviously a bit of a conglomerate, you know, running these things. It's like it's a craze and a phase, eh? It's like when I used to do parrots, I used to breed tons of different birds, and birds are like that. All of a sudden, they're expensive, and
Yeah,
then it just drops. You can't give them away for free, and you know
yeah,
what? The moment you let them go, then they're expensive again and hard to find. Yeah. It's
yeah.
like
I know that.
it's like what you were saying with the rainbows. You know, you couldn't give them away for free. Now they're 25, 35, 45 bucks a
Yeah,
rainbow, and
yeah,
these are fish that you know just collect.
yeah, mate. I was offering Bow rainbow fish for free. Come and
Yeah, no
and
takers.
and you know what? No, I had takers, but they wanted me
Yeah,
to deliver them though.
yeah. They wanted. I was about to say they wanted you to pay for their fuel. Yeah,
Mate, we have to
yeah,
finish
yeah.
up soon, but I'm aware. Just turn your camera around for a sec, there, buddy, so we can see your handsome face. That could be the whiskey talking. There you go. Now, Neil is a 31-year-old aquarist in Brisbane, Australia. Now, Neil, there is one fish in our fish room we have not spoken about, which was prominent in my mind, and that was your geophagus.
Yeah.
It's a bad time of night. It's now, it's probably 9 o'clock at night somewhere in the world. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah.
But are your geos out and about, or is it a bad time?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. Let me turn it around. You can see the male here at the back. So I've
Okay.
got a breeding trio. There's the big male. He's got two females, and they're very nifty to look at. What they do is they clear up a portion of the sand. Usually, they'll lay on the base of the tank and they'll close the eggs up with sand to hide them from the rest of the fish in this community tank. What they now do is this is a new. You see, there's sand there already. This is a
Yeah.
brand new clean saucer that I washed about 3 hours ago. So they pick up sand and they chuck it on there more and more. And then all of a sudden, they'll lay the eggs and then they'll suck up the sand and they chuck it over the eggs, even though it's in the saucer. And then when the eggs are viable, they pick them up, they keep them, they mouth brood like a traditional African cichlid. Um, but what they do is then they just
Hang
keep
on,
them
dude.
in mouth.
Neil. Geo's a South American dude.
Yeah, and they do the same as typical African cichlids, where they are a mouth brooder.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then what I usually do is once all these characins and rainbows, like those lemons, once they start eating the fry, I'll intervene if I have to. Then yeah, then I'll basically shake up the parents. I'll hold them over a bucket, put
Yeah.
them underwater, lift them, put them under, lift them until they open their mouths and they spit out the fry. Then I'll raise them from there, and they're not particularly difficult to raise at all. Um, yeah, and now the Picoltia comptas, the Plex L134s, they tend to bother the parents and eat the eggs a bit. So I've got a saucer over here that I removed this afternoon. So we'll see. I've intervened now. I've got eggs there. Let me take this away. Sorry, I don't want to muck around too much with them, but doesn't matter too much. See how we go. But look, I moved them yet. Where are those eggs now? Over there. So some of them it didn't go too well, I can see, but we'll see how we go. There's no pressure on it because I moved the tank yesterday. Had a very big day with a bit of an incident, so they're in a bit of shock, you know. So the next batch will be, if this one doesn't work out too well, the next one will work out. And I've sold them before the local fish stores here in Brisbane.
So, mate,
Yeah.
you were saying that these geos were a smaller side of things, but I'm used
Yeah.
to geo to Payos, which is a fairly small geo,
Yeah.
max around about probably 15 centimeters, I guess, which is about, I don't know, 12 inches.
Yeah.
How big are these guys?
They about, I don't know mine exactly, but they should be around 12 centimeters, maybe max out. You know, you get some larger males that might become 15 max, but they
Okay.
are regarded as a dwarf geo. See, he bumped his head a little bit, that male yesterday, and they still spawned. But he hurt himself a little bit with the move yesterday. But yeah, these are Geophagus pindare. And yeah, they're
Where
considered as a dwarf. The females are small. Um,
where does this species of geo sit within the Australian hobby?
where do they sit in the Australian hobby? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a bit of a wait list, to be honest. So I think they're doing well. Seems like people like geos a lot. I've got people asking me um, to breed them, and they will take any number that I breed. So I need to get a move on with these guys because yeah, I've got a bit of a wait list, to be honest.
So when you say a wait list, how long is the wait list?
So I've got a couple shops, and I've got wholesalers as well, and fellow hobbyists who
Yeah.
are inclined to, you know, they're interested. So and asking, listen, have you done them again? And I've been not really been focused, but now with the cooler months, you can see there's already eggs after I move them, after a massive ordeal. I mean, yeah, it'll be fine. Within they spawn within between 5 and 7 days. I'll have
Yeah.
eggs again. So I'm 100% sure I'll be working on a couple batches soon.
Yeah. So would you say that the geos here are your most closest breeding project because of what you've got with people asking for more?
Yeah, look, the cash cow in this garage are the guppies. And the
Really?
Uchiensis, guppies, just the rainbows, the run of the mill, and then the geos are a little bit more expensive, you know, and something that I really need to chase are these plecos and the corridoras, like the duplicarius. Just a final, yeah, like if I move this, like, I hate me sitting here. Can you see them?
Yes, down the side of the
Those
tank.
are duplicarius. So yeah, not a dolphoid. The coloration is different. This is a prettier Corey. And yeah, you don't see them often. And you'll find fry in the colony if you've got enough moss. You will
Okay.
find fry without having to remove eggs all the time. I had tons of them in South Africa.
Yeah. So where do these guys sit in the Australian industry, the Australian hobby?
I think they will be sought after. I
Yeah.
think I won't have a problem selling them I could not imagine having a
And
problem with them.
for those looking to have a bit of a display tank, are they a display Corey, a big group Corey, a big pond?
Beautiful, yeah, beautiful. They'll display. CW10s. You should see them. This tank with the geos in. The CW10s used to be in here, and they used to run the show. Like little warthogs. They swim around, move around like little warthogs, putting their little baubles in the sand. Um, just moving around, displaying all the time.
Yeah.
So you will have no problem. CW10s are regarded as a species that's a bit scared and placid, you know, but you won't have problems. Like I said, they're placid species. They hide all the time. But in this community aquarium, I saw them. It's the fish that I saw the most.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Neil, do you want to turn your camera around, mate?
yeah, 100%. I'm. Yeah,
Are you still going on your beer?
yeah, yeah.
So Neil's got a little cooler
Yeah, little bar fridge.
in his fish room there.
Yeah, to hide it from the missus. Yeah.
As opposed to how much it costs. My missus buys
Yeah.
my grog for me, so she knows exactly how much it costs.
Yeah.
Neil, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me or joining us tonight on our very first AA Aquarium Addicts live stream. I very much appreciate it. Have you got any thoughts that you want to leave with the viewers right now regards to breeding some of these hard to keep fish? You've got the ultims, you've got the pencil fish. We didn't even touch on your black rams, but you've got any thoughts there coming from a different country that you want to leave with the aquarists right now?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, be patient. That's the most important thing. Try and hold back. I'm telling you the exact opposite of what I'm doing, obviously. Be patient and try and hold back on just purchasing fish. Get the system ready. Ask people around the world if you can. Ask them on Facebook Messenger. Message them on YouTube. Harass them. Ask them. Most hobbyists, we're all good people. We're inclined to help. And if we can help, we will, and we'll be honest. That's what I can see from all fish keepers and breeders, most of them. And I'd say be patient. Get your tank ready. Get your system ready. Do your research. Save up a bit more. Go for the larger tank. Go for the sump. Go for proper media, and then purchase the fish. I'm learning that myself. As you can see, this garage is, as most people's fish room, it's clutter. It's all over the place because I have fish on their way and I don't have tanks ready per se. So yeah, I think that's what I'd leave, and never give up. Never give up, and enjoy it. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. There'll always be failures, always trials and tribulations, but don't give up. Yeah, you'll have some success somewhere. I'm in a period of drought here, and I'm looking for some success now that I'm home more.
Yeah. Mate, Neil, oh, look at you frozen. No, you haven't frozen. Neil, thank you very much for joining us tonight on our very first AA meeting on a Sunday. You are an aquarium addict, as are all we. And for the rest of you guys in the chat, stick with us. Next Sunday night, we're going to have the great bearded reefer. We're mixing it up for a change. We're going to go saltwater. And you may have seen my Batman to my Robin to my Batman, my great bit of reefer, the King Neptune, and he'll be showing us his aquariums next Sunday on AA. Good night. Good night, Neil.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone. Cheers.